And here's the map of Knott's Berry Farm for 2022. Here I am back again. I'm still sick. I'm doing all right. No regrets about quitting. Still no regrets. As you saw in the thumbnail, yes, there's implements. Knott's Berry Farm is going to implement new chaperone policy for minors after multiple teen fights. There's an article, so we're going to go ahead and look at it. And then I'm going to tell you a couple of stories that involve me trying to get a job at Knott's and at Universal. And I think that since I don't know the parties involved in the fight at Universal, I don't have to worry about proper nouns or divulging any information. So let's look at the article first. This came out actually yesterday, but yesterday was an ordeal for me. So let's go ahead and look at it. Buena Park. I keep thinking because I'm looking at Burbank. Buena Park, California. Due to an increase in fights involving teenagers, Knott's Berry Farm is implementing a new chaperone policy. Effective Friday, July 22nd, all guests 17 years and younger must be accompanied by a chaperone who is at least 21 years old. The policy will remain in effect on Fridays and Saturdays until further notice. For decades, Knott's Berry Farms has been a place where families and friends can come together to enjoy a one-of-a-kind park full of homegrown experiences and immersive entertainment, the Southern California theme park said in a statement on its website. Millions of guests have counted on us for their daily dose of wholesome family fun, and we're committed to keeping that promise going forward. Any guest who is 17 years and younger will not be allowed in the park without a chaperone. I guess meaning without an adult chaperone. I'm not sure. I'm assuming an adult. And if they are found inside the park unaccompanied by a chaperone, then they will be asked to leave, Knott's Berry Farm said in a statement. I like how they're saying Knott's Berry Farm and not the chief executive officer, the junior chief, the president, any management, any supervisors. I would have to assume it's some kind of supervisor. Park officials say one chaperone may accompany no more than 3 minors. So for every 3 kids, 1 adult. They must accompany their party during entry, stay with them during the entire time of their visit, and be available by phone throughout their stay. Okay. This policy change comes just days after a huge fight broke out at the park, forcing Knott's Berry Farm to close early. At least 3 people were injured in the fight, 2 of which were taken to the hospital. In July 2021, 2 young boys were injured during a shooting outside the park. I guess, because here's the thing with shootings. Now, with downtown Disney and Universal City Walk and in any place, you go through those metal detectors. Just like the airport, they check for guns, they check for needles, they check for drugs, they check for everything. Another fireable offense for Universal is that if you're caught with any narcotics, that'll snap you out of there too. Even if you just brought them to bring them. If you're bringing marijuana, they'll throw you out of the park. They will. You lose your card, you lose your privileges. So there's a lot of fireable offenses. Okay, and like I said, it's ridiculous. But so let me show you some more stuff. Now this is an article here that is from 2017, but it shows you charts and graphs. So we're looking at charts and graphs. This is the Cedar Fair. Now, Knott's Berry Farm is owned by Cedar Fair, and they'll show you statistics. 25 million visitors annually, 150 rides and attractions. This is from last decade, okay? And these are all the theme parks for Knott's. This is not Universal or Disney or Six Flags. This is just for Knott's Berry Farm and their relatives, okay? And this is from 2012. Okay, this is the 2011 attendance. So you can see here that Knott's Berry Farm was in the top tier. It was in the 3 millions of attendance. So that's not too bad, right? And Michigan's Adventure is at the very bottom for 1 million or fewer guests. I guess it's just how you put it up. Now, this is EBITDA. And EBITDA is before taxes, before the government takes all the money, and how well you do. And from this charts and graphs here, it would appear that Knott's Berry Farm probably did the best in 2015. And there's adjusted, so there's the revenue and there's the adjusted EBITDA. And yeah, it would appear 2015 was their shining moment that they did the best in. Now, fun fact for me, I was going during the pandemic, during 2020, 2021. Actually, it was in spring of 2021 that I was trying to get a job at Knott's Berry Farm. I think I told this story before. Knott's Berry Farm, they had this way of, so you would if you want to apply for work at Knott's Berry Farm, it was to do like something like maybe similar to what a guest ambassador does at Universal Studios. Guest ambassador is a slightly better job than park services, in which you're wearing red, you have a black vest, you have a straw hat, and you get to tell the guests what to do a bit. Like, hey, no sitting on the escalators, no smoking, you can't sleep there, stuff like that. But then they have the signs up. They tell you where everything is. They don't have to get their hands dirty like we did. So I think it was something similar to that at Knott's. And I applied, and so I had to wait at the far end next to, so there's the old fashioned ghost town where everybody goes, and the ghost town section in front of Knott's is free, right? It's sort of like that's their own version of City Walk. Instead of City Walk or downtown Disney, you'd have that little ghost town. But that ghost town was there before they built the whole park, and then the Peanuts came later. That was all later. And so you would apply for the job, and you would wait in this little patio area behind the ghost town, next to the huge parking lot. And you would go in, and you walk in. You're actually not in a one-on-one interview. You're in there with 10 other people, like a little class, like an orientation group. But there's no orientation yet. This is just an interview. So you have this Latina, you have other people, a couple of white dudes, whatever, and they're saying, "Oh, okay, we're gonna do a couple of exercises, everybody. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this." So you fill out your application, you write it down. Okay, we're gonna do these things. So, and this felt like improv actors guide to how to hire people. Okay, imagine you're on an island. If you could take 3 things with you on this island, I'm like, oh no. Okay, well, all right, I'll go along with it. And then we discuss like in a group. So we're in these 3 or 4 people groups. Okay, so I think imagine it might be 12 people. So imagine you had 3 groups of 4, and we're all talking amongst each other, trying to get the job. And eventually, they get into more specific questions like, okay, so now you're dealing with angry customers, and then like there was one of us who would say, okay, I would direct them to guest services, I would do this. She had more specific answers. And then eventually the interview was over. We did our group exercises, we were done. And we get up and take off. But then, oh, excuse me, ma'am, could you stick around? You're not in trouble. We just need you to explain this, the time differences on your form. And I have a funny feeling that was their way to say, hey, by the way, good, you got hired. We had to shut them away. I was like, I bet, because they gave me a rejection email like minutes later after she got called aside. Anybody who's ever tried to get a job at Knott's Berry Farm, am I right? Am I right about that? Am I correct? Write down some comment below. Tell me if I'm right about that. So I didn't get in. I also didn't get into medieval times dinner and tournament because of the weird hours and just hard to get home because you could only work late at night after dark. So that was rough. So I don't know what's going on with Knott's Berry Farm. I don't know how they select their candidates. It doesn't seem like they do an honest job. And as far as the fights go, well, I can only talk to you about Grad Bash. Now, Grad Bash at Universal Studios, this was 2022, of course. We had Montana Tucker, we had DJs, we had all kinds of people. So for that, of course you had adults. I mean, there was always going to be adults, but as far as our policies go, I don't know if I don't think we have policies about teenagers, because I think at Universal Studios Hollywood, you could have minors come onto the lot for whatever, you know. I don't know exactly what our policy is, but for grad bash, basically you would just have one bus, like a bus for each school, and then you would have a couple of adults, but like there were a lot of kids. And even we had junior grad bash, we'd have 13, 14-year olds, and they were looking, and those kids were, oh, they made a mess. And let me tell you something. This is one of the reasons I didn't want to become a lead at Park Services, was because management and the supervisors got pissed off that there was so much trash that we didn't pick up. And the kids had, when you're a kid, you're like, psh, psh, psh. Look, like I could jump up, yeah, I got that thing, I reached up to get that thing, which is cool when you're 16 or 17, you're 13, 14, 15. After I was like, give me a minute, let me just climb onto this thing and I'll reach it. Yeah, I'm 40, I did it. Yeah, I still got it. Okay. The kids are all over the place. They're kids, right? But they left such a mess. So part of our job is, picking up trash, sweeping. We have to make sure we can sweep all the trash that's on the ground so that when the next day happens and there's no grad bash and there's just regular guests, that it's not a mess. So, yeah, that was rough dealing with, but dealing with kids, you have to be patient. But for the most part, most of the guests have been nice to me. So I have, like I said, I have more problems with my coworkers. But aside from that, I never saw fights or real vicious confrontations with teenagers. With adults, that's a different scenario, a whole different thing. So it's at Springfield that, we have different sections. We have Harry Potter, we have the New York, Paris section, where you have Scooby-Doo characters, multiple characters, Shrek. You got Jurassic World, you got Super Nintendo World 2023, you've got Transformers. But at Springfield, the Krusty Land, all that stuff, okay? I'm doing my park services. I'm going, and part of our job is to pick up, collect trash. And I was at Upper Springfield, and I'm collecting trash for Cletus's Chicken Shack and Krusty Burger, okay? And I see these two cholos, these two, like, both of them don't have their, they have their shirts off, okay? And they're just fat cholos, who are probably my age, let's say my age, a little younger, a little older, okay? And they got their tats, but they got blood. One's got blood here and blood in the back, okay? And I'm looking at this, I'm like, they got blood everywhere, okay? And there were no mortal wounds, but a lot of cuts and bruises. And I'm just thinking, what the fuck was going on? So, and by the way, this was not caught early. This was like, I saw the two ladies I worked for in management for park services walk around. So they were already called onto the scene. They're just like kind of watching them. Like, if there was a fight, they'd have to call security. And we do have a sheriff's station nearby, so that in case something really bloody happens, we as park service, we can't get involved in altercations. However, if somebody's going to hurt somebody I care about, I just wouldn't stand by. I just wouldn't. However, having said that, I was taken back, like, what the fuck? And I steered away, because when it comes to vomit, feces, the white stuff, and blood, I stay away from. I think I don't want that near me. They're not paying me enough money to put up with that. So I just stayed away from them, and eventually they left. And then patio services mopped up everything. They put wet signs. They mopped up everything. I'm not sure what the exact procedure for blood is. I think blood is treated like vomit, which is a code 6, which means you throw this absorbing sawdust on top of it and then try to just sweep it up and probably put it in a biohazard container. That's what's supposed to happen. But I know vomit for sure is put in a regular bag and then just thrown away. So we absorbed that stuff. But what I heard later was that those two guys were getting involved into a rival gangbanger in I think it's the restrooms next to the Quickie Mart and before uh, the Studio Tour sign that you see. So if you go to Studio Tour, the big arch, and then you see the bathrooms, and then after the bathrooms you see Quickie Mart, then the Krusty Land. That's where the fight supposedly took place. And then they were just like the two Cholo buddies were like, oh man, look. I'm like, motherfuckers, you can't bring your East LA bullshit to Universal. You can't do that shit. Jesus fucking Christ. So yeah, that kind of stuff happened. So now when I look at this article, I'm thinking, okay, I don't know what's going on. I think you remember the Disneyland fights. Remember the happened to be black people. Just what it was on the TV, okay, on the tape. You see them doing what's up? You're doing some of the shit. What the hell is going on? And I'm glad we checked things. We checked for guns. We checked for knives. But you're not going to stop people from clubbing each other with things, okay? They buy a souvenir from the store and say, hey, I'm going to use this on you. Okay, maybe they'll do that. It all depends on how bloody they want to get. So, yeah, I'm glad I can talk about things now a little bit, but anywhere you go, you take your kids, your little, I mean, I'm not talking about like little kids, okay? And they don't need to see this shit. I mean, just, this is not the place for that. The two things you have to understand, next time you're going to any theme park, even if it's a pop-up, if it's a pop-up carnival at your local park, like Belvedere Park or any place or beach, have fun, be safe. That's all there is to it.